My name is Charlie King. I live in Darwin. I've lived in Darwin just about all my life. I was born in Alice Springs though. I'm a sports broadcaster with ABC Television and ABC Radio, and the thing I'm most proud of is I'm a member of the Gurindji tribe of the Northern Territory. My father was a mechanic, Catherine. He always wanted me to be a mechanic, so I started life as a mechanic's apprentice and did an apprenticeship in Alice Springs. And it's not exactly what I wanted to do, but it was what Dad wanted me to do. And, you know, I enjoyed it for a little while, but I didn't stick it out, unfortunately. The ABC came along when one day I was at a football match and I was pretending to call the match, showing off in front of my friends and making up names of VFL footballers and giving those names to the local footballers and just calling them all Jezelenko or Nichols or Bob Skilton or whoever. And my mates would gather around me and we'd just have fun with it. And an ABC broadcaster heard me doing it and had a bit of a chat to me after and said, you should pursue that, you know, you've got, your voice is nice, you know, you can call, you're calling the action as it happens. I was listening and watching you, so come into the ABC and have a bit of a chat to us. And of course, it never occurred to me that I would ever do that. I said, oh yeah, but never did. But he called me up a couple of times and come and saw me a couple of times and said, just come in and just put your voice down. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't think of anything more frightening and terrifying than that. Going into a studio and putting my voice down and listening to it come back again, I couldn't imagine. But he talked me into it and I went in and I actually did it. And then he said, call a little bit of the football, just call it as though you can see it, which is all this. You know, it's not real, it's not happening in front of you, but I did it anyway. And he listened to it and he sent it to his boss, and his boss said, he has a lot of potential. Give him some training and you'll make him you might be able to make him into a sports broadcaster. And I've never forgotten that. Come from absolutely nowhere, cold, but having a passion for it so important. Feeling for it is so important. And then once the opportunity came there and you got just even a little bit of training, Catherine, just a little bit of training, it started to make sense. The things they were telling me made sense to me. I'd already thought about some of those things. So training started to colour the picture in, if you like, and I was able to learn it rather quickly after a while, and you feel, you know, you have a bit of a knack for it anyway, I think. I went to year 12. I'd love to have gone on much further. When you start having conversations with people who've had a much higher level of education, you realise you need more education. And so to compensate, I would read a lot. I'd read a lot and I'd talk to people who knew a lot, so I'd research more. But yeah, it would have been useful to have had a much more solid educational background leading into that. It certainly would have made it easier. It didn't stop me from trying or having a go at it, but it would have made it that much easier, I think. My present work is about reducing family violence and child abuse, and I feel very passionately about those issues and passionate about encouraging Indigenous men to take a role in all of that. I mean, I firmly believe that the answer lies not with spending lots of money. The answer doesn't lie with teaching women how to actually deal with all of that. I think the piece that's missing from the jigsaw puzzle is the role of men, and so I feel passionately about engaging with Indigenous men, encouraging Indigenous men to take a stand about that. And it doesn't have to be any more than sitting down as Indigenous men and thinking about the effects of those terrible things, child abuse and family violence. Because once men start to realise their part in all of that, they realise that they themselves have a way of doing something about that. You know, because if the men stop hurting the women and the men stop abusing the children, the problem stops. So the challenge for us is to get men to understand and accept that. And here, what came out of my discussions with men, I had lots of discussions with men about this, is men had very little understanding, very little knowledge of these issues. And so they didn't know what it was that people were actually talking about. And so filling in some of that for them helped them understand just how big that problem was and what effect the problem had. One thing I would really desperately love to see Aboriginal people more proud of their tribal backgrounds, who they are in respect of their tribes, and not see themselves as just Aboriginal people or Indigenous people, that they are actually Gurindji people or Walpri people or Tiwi people or whatever their tribes are, because I think tribal pride is what will drive Aboriginal people to want to do something about this. So the more people realise who they are in respect of their tribes, the more they're going to be able to do something about it, I think.